This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bonini, and these are your headlines. Chinese warships dock in Cambodia, and the US expresses some grave concerns. Drunk drivers leave yet more dead bodies on the tarmac. And depression is the second biggest killer after road accidents. But firstly, to our headline story. There has been quite the stir in global media this week as Chinese warships have arrived at Cambodia's Ream naval base. The reason being to help train the Cambodian Navy. But some countries, including the US, see the whole exercise in a wholly different light, saying this could bring severe instability to the region.
Last week, several Chinese warships arrived at the Ream naval base in Cambodia to prepare to train the Cambodian Navy. The naval base's construction has been aided with Beijing's financial assistance. The aim is to significantly enhance Cambodia's naval capabilities. The duration of the training exercise, though, remains undisclosed, as does the number of Chinese warships involved. The Cambodian government clearly states that the Chinese training exercise is to help to develop the Cambodian Navy, particularly in its defence sector. But some other nations are indeed very concerned that this could be seen as an expansion of Chinese strength, and it has heightened tensions in the South China Sea. Radio Free Asia has reported that the major concern for some Western countries is the construction of the new deep draft pier that could accommodate Chinese aircraft carriers, and it is these aircraft carriers that could tip the balance of power within the region. And if used exclusively by the Chinese, this base would be China's first naval staging facility within Southeast Asia, and it is that is raising so many nations' concerns. Cambodia, in response to these concerns, has repeatedly denied that China is being given exclusive military access to the base, saying that it would be a contradiction of the country's constitution. A Pentagon report earlier this year said that China was seeking to normalize its presence overseas and build closer ties to foreign militaries. At current, there is only political posturing, but the arrival of these warships has caused many spy satellites to now be focused on Cambodia's deep water port, keeping a watchful eye to see what will happen next.
On this week's Crime Desk, we ask the question, which way do you go round a roundabout? And a smiling killer kills an innocent man. A family is seeking justice for a man that was killed by a driver who thought it was okay to drive the wrong way around a roundabout. And I, for one, can vouch that I have seen this maneuver carried out many times. Not only people driving the wrong way around roundabouts, but also parking on them, leaving entrances and exits blind, making it all extremely dangerous. This is a sight that never ceases to amaze me, and the reason for this dangerous and selfish parking is nearly always the same. There is a food vendor nearby, and the driver has parked on the roundabout to go and get some food. But on this occasion, a 59-year-old man was killed when he was struck by a car. His children are in a desperate state of grief. as not only has their father been taken away from them, but their mother is suffering from severe breast cancer, and her time on this earth may also be very limited. This is a heartbreaking tale, but it does not end here, as the driver himself has not faced justice as he did the traditional. So please do all join in. He fled the scene. And this is disgraceful behaviour. And it should be made very clear that if a driver runs from the crime, then he is guaranteed to do the time. Yet more death on the roads this week as a drunk woman killed a man by Phnom Penh International Airport. The woman now has been named and charged. But firstly, I would like to get her photo on the screen early, as this woman seems to have absolutely no comprehension of what it means to kill someone. It seems her coy little smile for the camera is not one of remorse or concern for the death of a loved one, more a standard pose she adopts for her Facebook page. The woman had left a bar drunk, and onlookers say they saw her Ford Mustang being driven at high speeds at 1:30 in the morning in a very erratic manner. It then lost control and smashed into the young man with such force it killed him instantly. The dead man was just 37 years old. He worked at the airport. On this occasion, bystanders saw the accident and the way the car had been swerving across the road, and they immediately detained the suspect for the police. But alas, no aid could be rendered to the victim. He was already dead. The case now has been referred to a judge, and we are waiting for a trial date. Mental health is a very serious issue here within the kingdom, and I myself have suffered terribly at its hands, as I have lived for many long and lonely years in the dark shadow of mental illness. It almost took my life. You have no idea how all-consuming it is to be constantly fighting your own brain, to be in such a miserable torment, and nobody knows the suffering you have to endure. And for many, it becomes all too much, and they quite simply give up the fight and become one of the many that become victims of the silent killer that is known as depression.
Inadequate support for families and a shortage of mental health services are the likely driving factors for suicide attempts in Cambodia, a mental health expert has said. Last year, a report from the Cambodian National Police highlighted that suicide cases are on the rise. Of 247 suicide attempts in just the first quarter of 2022, that resulted in 242 deaths. It is so bad that in Cambodia, suicide is ranked as the second leading cause of death among 13 to 24-year-old people. The first is traffic accident. One case this week highlighted how very tragic mental health issues can be when not correctly diagnosed. A man this week was arrested and charged for killing both his aunt and his uncle after accusing them of witchcraft. The man shot the two relatives dead, for he believed his illness and his misery was solely due to them practicing black magic against him. The murders were savage. He chased them across rice fields, his gun firing wildly. They looked back in terror, not knowing what had possessed their nephew. Mr. Sethol, counselling president of the Cambodian Association of Psychologists, said one of the main factors of bad mental health is what is called generational trauma. There are many problems relating to depression, and the PTSD is passed down from the parents to the children. All of these things are contributing factors, especially the depression, and that makes people resort to suicide. He said that sadly, of the entire national health budget, mental health care gets just 0.02% of funding. And that means less than 10% of the nation has access to any form of mental health care. So tragically, out there in the dark tonight is a silent army of people, all alone, fighting a disease that potentially could kill them.
The PM has made rather a bold announcement, and that is there is to be no more coal-burning power plants. Now, the reason this is bold is a developing country usually leans very heavily on coal plants, as it is a very cost-effective way to produce the nation's power. But the PM has stated there will be no more, and this pledge leads to a much greener future for the kingdom.
The Prime Minister this week declared that Cambodia will not have any new coal-based power plants, and that is really good news. It shows a level of forward thinking not usually associated with nations who are trying to push their way onto the economic ladder. The announcement came at the groundbreaking ceremony of the 150 megawatt hydropower dam. What the PM actually said was, the Cambodian government is setting a policy to ban coal-fired power plants in the country. And he went further. He amplified this by saying, there is no need to come to Cambodia if someone wants to invest in coal-fired power plants because the government will not allow it. And there is more for all us clean air lovers, as recently the government decided to stop the construction of a coal-fired power plant in Kokong province, which could have provided up to 700 megawatts of electricity. Now, this is quite simply remarkable. Developing nations do not usually go this green. Firstly, you pollute like hell to get rich, and then start thinking about the green aspect. But Cambodia has adopted green policies very early on in its economic growth. The PM went on to say, coal-fired power plants damage the environment, and Cambodia cannot ignore environmental issues. Instead, the government would strive to generate more renewable energy from hydropower, solar, and biomass. Now, I know that many who watch this show think that I am verbally shackled in some way, but I am not. So when I say, good for you, Prime Minister, I honestly mean it. This is a very decisive path that has been taken, and one that a nation should be proud of.
It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week.
And here on the screen we have a view from my hotel window in Thailand to give you your first ever international weather report. And what we can see is it's night time and it's not raining. That was completely pointless. So let's go to the weather in Cambodia. And what do we see? Well, we have a temperature about 27 degrees. Unbelievably, it's fallen off my screen again. It does that every week. Here we go. 27 degrees. There is rain, but it's very sporadic. If you've got pot plants, you need to start using your hose. You may think there's a lot of rain about, but there sincerely isn't. The winds are up to 11 kilometers an hour. The humidity is at about 66, which is pretty comfortable. But if you look left and right of the chart, you will see rain and you will see sunshine.
This has been the Khmer Times News. Please do subscribe and comment and stay up to date with all the breaking news by following us on both Facebook and Telegram. This has been Paolo Bonini, and that was the week that was. I'll see you next weekend for your weekly Roundup.